the school district, if it's in their best interest to maintain that as a permanent alternate access to their property after they're finished with the construction use. Does anybody have an issue with that? The school district?
What are you talking about?
Temporary construction road that's shown on this plan. The school district may decide that it's in their best interest to, keep it as an alternate access or an emergency access. I'm just asking if you can inform the board not if there's any issues with that. First of all, Dan, would you see any? Have you called about that? The engineering aspect.
No, as long as we talked about it today, whether it's put in temporary or permanent, they're going to do some minor improvements to the drainage along the high side of Cherry Way to make sure that we're carrying the drainage forth and over to that stream there, so there's no effect on our road there, the Cherry Way. So whether they're going to have to do that for the temporary and permanent, so either way would be fine.
Because I'd like to tell them that it's their choice if they want to do that.
And for the permanent inclusion of that road, which specs would we have to follow?
Well, if it's only for emergency access, it would be up to them to what they think they need. From our perspective, if it's a secondary access, I would assume it probably would be gated if it would be a secondary access, and then they could just gravel and maybe tar. If they already have gravel done, they may decide just to tar and chip it so it's not a dusty surface, or just put a minor bit of asphalt on it for use at a later date.
Yeah, if I can add to that. I'm sorry.
We have no spec on that if they would choose to have keep a temporary road. We're just saying that it has to be at their discretion.
Right now it is a gravel lot, very similar to, if you've been down at the stadium, they just took the Titano property and made a gravel lot, a parking lot there. It's very similar to that material and structure. We're going to be putting about 10 inches of gravel there. And if it does remain, the gravel will remain also, as well as the gates, as well as the storm that Dan had touched on.
I'd like to say something. I have no problem with the building of this school. I believe that it is needed. I don't know the 31 million, but I don't think anyone does. We, the taxpayers, are going to have to pay for it. But if it has to be, it has to be. What I do have a problem with is that this is being rammed down our throat without even having had an opportunity to review anything. I think that there was a letter that was emailed to us from Gateway around 3 or 4 this afternoon. I haven't read it yet. You're here talking about dumpsters and where they're going to be located against a $31 million project, and you want us to immediately approve this. I, for one, can't. I absolutely cannot. This has been, I went to 2 meetings in February. Oh, excuse me. And then I also went to the Planning Commission meeting. And I don't feel that I'm any better informed now than I was early on, and I don't feel that I'm informed enough to make an intelligent decision without any time to consider this and ask questions about it. It seems to me that this is being done without any forethought, without thinking it through. And I, for one, want the opportunity to think it through before I vote in favor of spending $31 million on a project that I don't know anything about. That's said my piece.
That's what I want to say, though. It's their project. It's not our project. It's not fair to say it's ramming it down our throats. If they're on a tight schedule, it's a construction schedule, they need to make it work for themselves.
This is a schedule that they have made. This is
Well,
their
sure.
schedule.
Every owner comes up with a schedule.
This should have been done 5 or 6 months ago. We should have had discussions. The residents should have met with you and asked whatever questions they wanted to. We should have met with you and not wait until, I didn't know last night whether there was going to be a meeting. I didn't know at 10:30 this morning. I was told that I would know at 12 o'clock whether there was going to be a meeting. I found out at 20 to 1 that we were going to have a meeting after all. This letter apparently was sent by Gateway 4 this afternoon after rush meetings all morning. I'm sorry, I have a problem with all of this.
Can I back up for 1 second? I have never at any point in the past week was not made aware that this meeting would happen. In fact, I talked to Dan Dizeroff, I talked to Bruce, I've seen these plans, I knew this email was coming, so I'm not sure why. Am I the only one who was?
The only potential was that if they would have asked us to cancel, we would have canceled it. It's been scheduled since our last.
But at their request, not ours.
It was scheduled at our last meeting that we were going to have on the 23rd, unless
I'm
there was a
aware of
problem.
that.
Unless
But
there
we
was a
should have had
problem.
this information at our last meeting. This is being pushed through too fast. That's all I'm saying.
The other thing too that I wanted to say is that this isn't our area of expertise. I mean, we could look at this for 3 months and we need our professionals to weigh in on it. Dan's on our side to review it and he knows stormwater management. We don't know that, and the school district met with him and
I understand.
they were under his gun. He says if you want me to make a recommendation to this board this Thursday night, they had to get it to him by a certain time, which they apparently obviously met. That's Dan's expertise, that's their expertise. Like I said, what will we look at to weigh in on this site
I would have an
plan?
opportunity to read and digest the report that he gave. There are numbers here, I don't know what these are. ES 1.1, EL 1.1, and 1.2C. I don't see any of this. I don't have any, but I don't even know what it's about. SP3 and 3.4, SP4 and 4.6, or maybe there's 3.4 to 4.6, and SP 5.1 to 5.2. I don't know what that is.
Well, rest assured, Dan knows what it is.
And they're referring to documents.
I'm happy, Dan, that you know what it is. And I do have a very high regard for you, but I want an opportunity to see this myself. So I've stated my position on this is $31 million. There are thousands of taxpayers in Cecil Township who count on us and what we're doing. And I take this seriously.
To them, we couldn't change how they spend school district dollars.
What does that have to do with anything?
You keep saying, you're talking about their 30, that's not our $31 million.
Oh, it is very much our $31 million.
Then you're in the wrong board meeting. Then you need to go to the school board meeting and talk to them.
I'm not objecting to the cost of it. It's a lot of money, regardless if it were 20 million or 50 million. It's a lot of money. And I can't approve something that I've not had an opportunity to look at. That's
I
all I'm
take
saying.
exception, though, to the fact that you're saying this is the first time you've seen it. I've been down here, I've seen these plans, I've talked to
Did?
them. Yeah.
Then why weren't they provided to all of us? The plans just
Check your
came
email.
out. It's right here. I just got this out.
This is not the first time I've seen this plan.
Well, maybe you.
All right, that's not going to get us anywhere.
And I don't think you have the right to argue
Anybody?
about what my thoughts are and what my vote could be.
No, but you're making.
All right.
Dan, I have one question for you. I did get to read through your report you emailed us today. Was there any other issues that you had other than what you addressed in that report?
No, and just to give a little bit of clarification, I mean, after we left the planning commission meeting at the last meeting, there were a number of open questions. They actually wanted to come to your last Board of Supervisors meeting, and we didn't feel that they were sufficiently complete enough to do that at that time. There were some major questions to be answered. So they delayed and they asked for the special meeting, and we've been working with them hand in hand to address some of these issues. And I wouldn't, Elizabeth, I feel very confident that, and you know, this is my job, my reputation is on the line. I've reviewed everything here. The major issues that I saw here were off-site issues, the stormwater issues, and we've addressed those. The rest of it, the site plans that have been presented are more a function of how they want the school to operate, which is within our purview. They have the amount of parking they're required, the amount of landscaping they're required, all the rules and regulations that are in our ordinance, they've followed along. Now, I did a thorough review of these plans last Friday, and I sent them off my remaining draft comments. I wanted this to come to you tonight as clean as possible. So I gave them the opportunity without sending out another letter to address the majority of my comments, which we met today. Bruce and I met with them today at 10
I'm
o'clock
aware of that.
to go over the comments again. So I feel that we have, at least from a staff perspective, we have thoroughly vetted the plans. Mike Haberman, our traffic engineer, has exhaustively reviewed the bus routes and the turning radiuses and everything else too. So we've given it a really good review, and these, what's on my letter here tonight are very minor items and really just contingencies that I think that you should have if you consider it tonight. So,
I haven't seen your letter yet, I started to read it, that was it.
okay.
I
I understand, but we did one review. You should have gotten our first review.
That was before.
That was before the planning commission, yeah.
Yep,
So this is the second one.
that's right, thank you.
The other thing, it wasn't inappropriate for Dan to review that at the last minute because we asked him to. I mean, maybe we didn't personally, but we wanted him to be on the plan to get ready for our meeting tonight.
Well, I'm glad that you did. I mean, there are 4 more of you that can make your decisions.
The other thing they've accommodated was obviously that they've worked to address our initial concerns about access to the school past the post office or past the fire department. They've probably the only alternative that was available to them, and then they proceeded diligently with that. At the last minute, we come up with an idea that may work better for them, and so that they limited this plan just to that site so that we have a chance to investigate that.
We should not have had to do that. This has been rushed through, and it concerns me. Not from Dan Diesroth, certainly. But I just think that the school district has not given anything much thought, regardless of how long you've been working.
That's kind of fair. You don't know how many hours and weekends and evenings they might have worked for the district. And like Dan does things we ask him, I'm sure these guys put in extra time because the district asked them to. Doesn't mean they were rushed.
Why are you arguing with me about it?
Well, because you're kind of slamming them as if that they didn't do their own due diligence. They might have worked at it 24 hours a day for all we know.
We weren't made privy to it. That's my position.
Is there anybody, our residents have any comments or questions about the proposal?